The first 72 hours after my stroke were the longest 72 hours of my life. People often ask me what I remember most from those first few days. Was it the hospital, the doctors, the fear, the pain? The truth is I remember all of it. Some memories are crystal clear. Others are blurry like pieces of a dream that never completely disappear. One moment I was living a normal life. The next moment I was surrounded by people moving faster than I had ever seen. Someone was asking me questions. Another person was checking my blood pressure. Someone else was looking into my eyes with a flashlight. I wanted to answer them. I wanted to explain exactly what I was feeling. But my body wasn't cooperating. That was one of the most terrifying parts. Imagine knowing exactly what you want to say but your mouth refuses to cooperate. Imagine hearing people speak to you while wondering if they're talking about your future. Everything happened so quickly. The ambulance ride felt both fast and incredibly slow. I remember staring at the ceiling wondering if my life would ever be the same again. The sound of the siren stayed in my head. For the first time I wasn't thinking about work. I wasn't thinking about paying bills. I wasn't thinking about tomorrow's schedule. I was thinking about one thing. Am I going to survive this? When we arrived at the emergency room, everything became even more intense. Doctors and nurses immediately surrounded me. They weren't wasting a single second. Looking back now, I understand why. Every minute during a stroke matters. Every decision can affect the rest of your life. At that time I didn't understand the urgency. I only understood that everyone looked serious. They kept asking me simple questions. What day is it? Can you smile? Can you lift your arm? Can you squeeze my hand? Those questions seemed strange at first. Now I know they were measuring how much my brain had been affected. I tried my best. Some things I could do. Others I couldn't. Every time I failed one of those simple tests, my heart sank a little deeper. Then came the scans. Machines that looked enormous surrounded me. I remember lying perfectly still while my mind raced with questions. What are they seeing? How bad is it? Will I wake up tomorrow? No one could answer those questions yet. Waiting for results may have been one of the hardest parts. Sometimes waiting is harder than hearing the truth. Your imagination begins creating worst-case scenarios. I thought about my family. I thought about the people I loved. I wondered what they were feeling while sitting outside that room. Were they scared? Were they crying? Were they praying? As patients, we often forget that illness doesn't only affect us. It affects everyone who loves us. When the doctors finally explained that I had suffered a stroke, everything became real. There was no more denying it. No more hoping it was simply exhaustion or stress. My life had changed. I remember feeling completely numb. Not because I wasn't emotional. Because I couldn't fully process what I had just heard. The word stroke carries enormous weight. Instantly your mind starts imagining everything you've ever heard about it. People who never recover. People who lose the ability to walk. People who lose the ability to speak. People whose lives change forever. I wondered which story would become mine. That first night in the hospital felt endless. Hospitals never truly sleep. Machines beep constantly. Nurses quietly walk through the hallways. Doors open and close. Monitors continue flashing numbers you don't fully understand. Every sound reminded me that I wasn't home. Every hour felt like an entire day. Sleep came in short moments. Every time someone entered my room, I woke up. Blood pressure, checks, medication, neurological exams. Questions that seemed to repeat over and over. Can you move your fingers? Can you lift your leg? Can you tell me your name? At first those questions frustrated me. Later I realized they were looking for progress. Even the smallest improvement mattered. The next morning reality hit me harder than ever. I tried doing simple things that had always been automatic. Some of them suddenly felt impossible. That's when I realized recovery wasn't going to happen overnight. My body needed time. My brain needed time. And I needed patience. Patience isn't something most of us naturally have. Especially when our lives suddenly stop. I wanted to get out of bed. I wanted to walk. I wanted to leave the hospital. Instead, I had to accept that healing couldn't be rushed. One therapist told me something I'll never forget. She said, "Don't focus on where you used to be. Focus on where you are today." At first, I didn't understand what she meant. I kept comparing myself to the person I had been before the stroke. The strong version of myself. The independent version. The man who never thought twice about walking, climbing stairs, driving, or working. Comparing myself to that person only made me feel worse. Eventually, I started comparing myself to yesterday instead. Could I move a little better than yesterday? Could I speak a little clearer? Could I sit up a little longer? Those tiny improvements became my victories. One of the biggest emotional moments happened when family members came to visit. I could see relief in their faces simply because I was still alive. That changed something inside me. I realized this wasn't only my fight. Everyone who loved me was fighting alongside me. Their hope became my hope. Their strength became my strength. Sometimes people don't realize how powerful encouragement can be. A simple smile, a hand on your shoulder, someone saying keep fighting. Those small moments can carry you through your darkest days. By the second day, I started understanding that recovery wasn't just physical. It was mental, it was emotional, it was spiritual. Every single part of me had been shaken. I wasn't only learning how to move again. I was learning how to believe in myself again. There were moments when fear still crept into my mind. What if this is as good as I ever get? What if I never return to the life I loved? Those thoughts were real. I won't pretend they weren't. But every time those thoughts appeared, I reminded myself of one simple truth. I'm still here. As long as I'm breathing, there is still hope. And hope is sometimes the strongest medicine of all. The third day felt different. Not because everything was suddenly better, but because something inside me had changed. For the first time since the stroke, I stopped asking why this happened to me. Instead, I started asking, what do I do next? That small shift in my mindset changed everything. Recovery doesn't begin when your body is ready. Recovery begins when your mind decides not to quit. When the therapists came into my room that morning, I noticed something different. Instead of feeling afraid of the exercises, I wanted to try. I knew every movement mattered. Every step mattered. Every repetition mattered. They asked me to stand again. It wasn't easy. My legs still felt weak. My balance wasn't perfect. My confidence had disappeared. But this time I wasn't trying to prove anything to anyone else. I was proving something to myself. I took one slow step, then another. To someone watching from the outside, it probably didn't seem like much. But to me, those few steps felt like running a marathon. I smiled. Not because recovery was over, but because recovery had truly begun. That day, I also realized something important. Healing isn't measured by how fast you recover. It's measured by how many times you refuse to give up. Throughout those first 72 hours, I met incredible nurses and therapists. They weren't just treating patients. They were restoring hope. They celebrated every small improvement. They encouraged me when I became frustrated. They reminded me that setbacks were normal. One nurse told me something I still remember today. She said, "Don't worry about tomorrow. Just win today." Those words stayed with me. Because that's exactly how recovery works. You don't recover all at once. You recover one day at a time. One decision at a time. One small victory at a time. As I looked around the hospital, I noticed other patients. Some were older than me. Some were younger. Every room had a different story. Every family was carrying a different burden. That's when I understood something powerful. Pain doesn't discriminate. Illness doesn't care who you are. But courage doesn't discriminate either. Every single person fighting to recover was showing incredible strength. That inspired me. For the first time, I stopped feeling sorry for myself. Instead, I felt grateful. Grateful that I was alive. Grateful that I still had another chance. Grateful that I could still fight. During those quiet moments I thought about my life before the stroke. I thought about all the little things I had taken for granted. Walking across a parking lot, driving to work, laughing with friends, eating dinner with family, waking up without pain. Those ordinary moments suddenly became extraordinary.